Welcome to India Lingua News. Our guest today is Bharatanatyam dancer and teacher Pallavi Nagesha. She started her Bharatanatyam dance career little bit later in her life. She learned and now she teaches, and also she has been very much involved in art, dance, culture, spirituality, and Āyurveda. She herself lives a very holistic life, and she tries to teach the same thing to her students as well. We are going to talk to her journey of Bharatanatyam. Pallavi, welcome to our studio.
Glad to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So, of course, we have been in touch for a long time through some writing here and there and some of your work which you have done for various organizations here. When I saw your dance at Saheli event, I was totally mesmerized. It was a fantastic piece of dance.
Thank you.
And I loved your the way you explained each item at the dance. Because for many of us, those who are not very exposed to Bharatanatyam dance, everything looks the same. But once you explained, I was able to observe all the different, the emotions, the movement and delicacies of the dance.
Right.
And then we thought, okay, let's explore with you and learn a little bit more about you.
Absolutely.
So, when did you really got interested into Bharatanatyam dance?
I was always interested in Bharatanatyam dance. I learned for a little while when I was a child in India, but you know how it is with both parents working, people taking you to various places is not an option. So I had to kind of shelve that. And then when I came here, my very good friend Purnima Risbud was a Bharatanatyam dance teacher. And the journey actually started with my son. So I would dance with her, like she would choreograph folk or semi-classical dances, and I would be dancing with her on stage. And
which year was that? How old you were at that time?
I was about 24.
24, okay.
Yeah.
And you had arrived here at what age?
I came at 21.
21, okay.
Yeah. So at that time, after a little while, when my son saw her dancing classical, he was like 3, and he saw her doing classical dance, and he said, I want to learn that. And I enrolled him in her class, and I would go. And then because he was so little, he was 3, she told me that I had to kind of keep up to teach him at home.
Mm-hmm. And he also learning Bharatanatyam?
He learned Bharatanatyam. He did his Arangetram in 2014.
That's excellent. That
yeah.
I don't hear much, the boys doing the...
Right.
Sure. Excellent.
So then I started to learn to teach him. And then she said, this is silly. You have to you're a good dancer and you better just learn. So that's how my journey with Bharatanatyam started.
Excellent. So you also did your Arangetram as well?
I did.
Which year was that?
2010.
2010. So it's a big milestone to have starting such a late.
Right.
And then now you took it to the next level. And now you also teach Bharatanatyam as well.
Right.
So tell us about your school and what type of students you have and what you teach.
So my school is called Bhūmikā. It's Bhūmikā Arts. And I teach anybody who wants to learn, right? So I have little kids, like it's in, usually the kids come at 5 or 6 years of age and start learning. And I also have adults who want to explore this. Because of how I present.
Who is your oldest? I'm not going to ask you the name, but what is the age of the oldest?
50.
50?
50 and some of them are over 50.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I find it very inspiring that if you have a passion and hobby, you can start at any age.
Yeah. And I also have non-Indians taking lessons with me.
Oh, excellent.
And the idea of spirituality crosses all boundaries, right? So I am very much into teaching them how to be disciplined and how to consider our bodies as a sacred thing. And how do you move and how do you make that movement into a poetry, an offering to whatever you feel like, right? So it could be to yourself, an obeisance to yourself, or to anybody, any faith that you believe in.
So now when you were learning, what was roughly your, how many hours you were practicing and how it felt at that time?
it was really hard because I had a little child and I was working full time. So, and at that time, actually, I was also learning Veena. So from Durga Krishnan. And it just putting everything together was hard. But then when I dance, I'm the happiest. And I realized that, and I knew that this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I might not be a big performer, but I want to dance. And, it depends, but on any given day, at least an hour a day. And when I have performances or when I'm working on something, it can be more.
So let's talk about, you mentioned Veena. You still play Veena?
I can play Veena. I stopped learning, but I have not stopped practicing. So I do play it once in a while. I'm not a great player.
Okay.
But
your dance is your...
That's my first passion.
Excellent. And also, I remember you did some articles for us about Natya Shastra.
Correct.
And which was very interesting because, I didn't know that Natya Shastra really formally existed in ancient India.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got exposed to Natya Shastra.
So as a dancer, we all know the existence of Natya Shastra because a lot of what we are taught comes from there. And I also started to learn what is known. It's called Karana Sangeetam, but it's basically what is written in Natya Shastra about how movement should work. And this is codified in the sculptures around India, right? Especially the sculptures in the temples of South India. And a very famous dancer called Padma Subramaniam went and codified these as the Karanas. And because it was prescribed in Natya Shastra, but nobody knew how to move to this Karana tradition. And I got interested in that. And when I started exploring that with another teacher in India called Nirupama Rajendra, I wanted to learn more about Natya Shastra. And I approached Shekhar Shastri.
In Lexington.
Sure. Right. He's a Sanskrit scholar.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and a great friend of mine. Almost.
And
family.
Also, he and Vanita Shastri, husband and wife, founded Meru Foundation.
Correct. And I've been working with them in some capacity with Meru Foundation from the time they started it. So, he and I started to explore Natya Shastra, and then we've actually done a couple of workshops on Natya Shastra here in this area, in the New England area. So that's how my journey with Natya Shastra began. But it is it's a compendium for fine arts. Not fine arts, performing arts. And it's not only for dance, right? It's for music, it's for drama, it's for everything. It's a very interesting text.
Okay.
And the more you delve into it, the more you want to continue to delve into it.
So now, have you tried any other type of dance, or you just focus on Bharatanatyam?
I just focus on Bharatanatyam.
But you can dance anything?
I can, I not any other classical dance, but I can do folk dancing, It's, anybody who's trained in any classical strain can pick up any other dance very quickly.
Okay. So now tell me also the connection between dance and music, how these two connect with each other. Because sometimes I see people are dancing and, music is playing and everything so seems so smooth and seamless. How tell us a little bit about that.
Music is one of the very core aspects of dance, right? You must have heard the shloka Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam.
Explain it to us.
So the Angikam, the limbs, right? And the Vachikam, the words, and what you hear, Sarva Vangmayam. Aharyam, the ornamentation on your body, or even outside, right? Like the props and such. These all have to go into dance. So there is yourself, your body, your limbs. There is the voice, that is the music, the words, and the ornamentation around you and on you. These are all important aspects of a dance or a dancer. So you have to think about all of this when you're dancing. And the music, the rhythm is what keeps dance going, right? And when you think about what a classical dancer is trying to get across to her audience, it is some meaning through motion, through movement, right? And that movement must be complemented by the music so that the emotion or the story that the dancer is telling makes sense to everybody. So to give you an example, if you put some happy music, like for example some Bharat music, right, and you want me to show Draupadi Vastraharan, it will not work. So that music has to be appropriate.
Very good point. Sure.
To what we are emoting, how we are working. And of course poetry, right, because a lot of it is, the storytelling is through poetry. And then we have to understand the poetry, we have to understand the music, we have to internalize it all and portray it. So it's said that dancers encompass all of the other performing arts, and therefore our work is the toughest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we have to understand the written word, we have to understand music, and we have to understand rhythm, we have to understand how to act, because we're acting out things.
So now coming back to acting, see, when you performed at the Saheli event, and if you had not explained us, to the audience, to me it have looked, from distance, more or less everything is same, right? So but once you explained, I started to pay attention, and I was able to see that. So the question to you is how the dancer, so in this case you, quickly you were able to change your emotions and expressions from Durga to romance to mother's love to bhakti. How difficult it is, or how you feel when you do this?
So it takes a lot of training to do that, of course, but it is very difficult. It is very difficult to go from mode to mode. And one of the things, like the Natya Shastra says that when you enter the stage, you have to, there's what's called a Yamadvar. And when you go past that Yamadvar, you're dead. Right? So
that's why I was asking. The yam means, the death, and then okay.
So the idea is that me, Pallavi, dies, and when I go on stage, I'm a patra, and in Hindi also patra means an empty vessel, right? So that I'm a patra, I'm an empty vessel, and I need to fill myself with whatever emotion I need to portray.
That's a beautiful concept. That's excellent. Yeah, now it makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it is important for any performer, right? Even a musician to cross that Yamadvara and then embody whatever they want to communicate to the audience.
It can be applicable to the actors as well.
Actors, music, everybody. And there's actually a ritual that is prescribed in Natya Shastra of crossing that Yamadvara. And that's an important ritual for us.
And all the dancers do. You definitely seems like you do that.
Yeah. Okay. So some people do it on stage, some people do it off stage, but the naman we do before we start a dance, it kind of brings that and ties that in. But for me, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of people just touch the stage and enter.
I see that.
Yeah. So that is one of the ways we say that. Okay, I'm crossing this threshold, and help me not be myself. Let my ego just die here, and let me help me embody everything that.
And what goes through your mind at the time when you are on stage? And does any fear comes like, oh, maybe I made a wrong move, or what audience are thinking, or nothing comes in your mind?
Nothing but the song and the poetry and the rhythm.
No fear.
Fear is natural. Everybody has fear, right? And it is not fear of showing something to the audience that doesn't jive. It is fear of not reaching to that point where I am completely one with the music. Because that can happen. Often in rehearsals, my teacher says, you're not feeling it. Right? So when I go onto that stage, I have no idea whether my psyche will allow me to forget everything else and just feel that moment.
I think the feeling is very, very important in anything you do, whether you do a dance or whether you do gardening or do yoga. I think
absolutely
that feeling is very
absolutely right. So, but once I start dancing and I get into the zone, nothing else matters. And that's true for a lot of performance, right? Like you go in and you start doing things and everything else just melts away. And all I am concerned is you sitting in the audience and me having a dialogue.
So now, coming back to your dance school, if somebody, in my age, or they are in 40s, 50s, later stage of their life and they're exploring, and, many times, people think that, I want to learn this dance, but they feel a little bit hesitant about that.
Right.
Either, especially among the males, people that think, that's the women's thing, I don't want to do that. How do you deal with that situation? Or what you want to send the message to them?
So, like I said, I do have a lot of adults, students. One thing is that I want to ask them if they want to pursue this as something that makes them happy, or is it just a form of exercise? Because if it's a form of exercise, then it doesn't work. Then it becomes mechanical. Any classical art cannot be mechanical. It has to come from within. So if you are there and if you want to express yourself in that way, in that very spiritual, very nuanced way, it doesn't matter, right? The way I teach is that I'm looking at the body, right? You have a knee problem, you have a shoulder problem. How can I adjust what I'm teaching in order for you to gain what you need the most? You love dancing, I'm going to allow you to dance, but I'm going to put all the guardrails around you to make sure that you are safe, because that's important, right? Even when you teach yoga, right, you're always offering modifications for people who have issues. So I'm offering modifications as well, right? So one of the things my teacher, I'm currently training under Padmini Ravi from Bangalore. And one of the things my teacher told me is that when there is so much joy in you while you're dancing, people are reflecting that joy. Nobody is watching that you're not bent as deeply as you need to bend. So these are all the mechanical parts of it all. Yes, you learn, but if you can't execute it to 100%, it's okay.
It's very interesting that you were mentioning that, what you are doing and audience is able to feel that. And I am going back, I think I remember from my memory from your introduction when you were talking about the emotions, and you talked about emotion, the bhakti, and you talked about the romantic love, and then you talked about the mother and child love. And I was just curious, how you are going to express it. And so when you were dancing, I really started to pay attention to, although they stay a little bit dark, but still I was able to feel that through the movements.
Yes.
And it can be very, very inspiring experience.
Yeah.
Now, moving to the next topic, off the camera, we are talking about the holistic aspect of your life.
Yes.
And you are also very spiritual yoga teacher. You also involve, do some certified Ayurvedic healer,
as a practitioner.
Practitioner, yes. Yeah. So tell us about that how everything is integrated. How do you integrate all these things together?
So, no matter what you do, right? Like you and I are sitting here talking, our mind, our body, and our emotions are involved. So how do I keep all of these things flowing through me in a good way, so that when I present myself to somebody else, even in a small way, even to my husband or my children, when I'm there in front of them, how can I work through whatever is going on within me and externalize that in a good way? So that my journey has constantly been that, right? And I'm actually bipolar. So how do
I cannot tell, so.
Yeah. Okay. So it's important for me to be able to rein in whatever is going on and not curtail it, but to live it and then move through it so that I'm able to live a good life.
So those are first, our viewers and all who are not, they don't know what bipolar is. You can just explain that briefly what it is, what happens.
So a typical bipolar person has only two levels of being. They're either super happy or super sad. I'm bipolar 2. I don't have the super happy. So when you're manic, it's like you probably portrayed very badly in the media, but the manic aspects of it can be like people going out partying all night and doing drugs and so that's what comes to mind when manic. My mania is not as high because I'm bipolar 2, but my depression is the same as it would be for any other bipolar person. So that those two states, right? Like I live very little in the middle state. So I'm either there, very happy, very outgoing. Or
I'm so glad you were talking about this issue because generally it's a very taboo. People, don't talk about these things. And this is an important issue which everybody should be educated.
Absolutely.
And be aware. So I'm glad you mentioned this issue. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you deal with this? These are a holistic approach helps you with
absolutely, right? Meditation and just keeping my body healthy because I have so much going on in my mind. I don't want to have to focus on both together, and that is tough for me. Even though because of where my mind is, it's always flitting between two things. So giving it focus, and I think dance is a big area for me where my mind gets focus. Giving my mind focus, keeping my body healthy. And yoga and Ayurveda help me do that, and of course, medication. There is, I'm absolutely advocating medication because it's really important. The people who
you said medication or meditation?
Medication.
Okay, like taking medicine. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So you have to do meditation too.
Sure.
But because there are chemical imbalances in you, right? You need medication to work with that, and to keep your body going as it should, you need Ayurveda, you need yoga, you need meditation. So all of this come together to make you a whole person. So going back to what I was saying, kind of combining them in my body it shows in what I do.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Now, I have to talk to you about your parents as well.
Yes.
The role they have played because, you seem to have a very different, the heritage in your mind and what you practice. How important role your parents played in your life?
Very, very.
Let's start with your father.
Yes. My dad, he comes from a very intellectual family. My grandfather was the principal of Banmayas College in Mysore. And his older brother was the head of NCERT at some time. So to them, education is very important. And of course, we are from Mysore, so yoga and Ayurveda were very important. And my grandfather lived with us. And that trio, yoga, Ayurveda, and just learning, that was our foundation. That was our foundation, right? I would always get teased in school because I was the first one who started to read, the taboo novels when I was like 10 or 12 because it was all being read at home.
Yeah, sure.
And
you all the time heard the stories about all these things what was going on.
Completely. And my mother, she was actually a beautiful singer. She sang a little bit for the All India Radio, but she worked for Syndicate Bank, and they had an organization there where she would act and sing. And she was also big into yoga, and she, my sister, and I would go twice or thrice a week to Gandhi Gyan Mandir in India to do yoga. And I've done this right since when I was...
So in India, I basically grew up in Mysore. Right?
No, I did not grow up in Mysore. I grew up in Hyderabad.
In Hyderabad, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from Hyderabad, you came to Boston?
Correct.
Came to directly Boston, right?
Yes, I came directly to Boston.
Okay.
I've been here ever since.
And right now, professionally, you work for
Amazon Web Services, correct.
Excellent. And you have how many kids? One?
I have 2 kids. I have
kids,
a son and a daughter.
So the son is the one who did the
Arangetram,
Bharatanatyam,
yes.
which is very commendable. I'm very glad that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
And you tell us about your daughter.
My daughter is currently, she's just started college at Belmont University in Nashville.
Yeah, okay.
She is majoring in music.
Oh, excellent. So the music, I think, is going to continue.
Correct. My sister is a musician too. She's a Hindustani singer, vocal singer, and so is her husband.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Pallavi, thank you so much for coming to our studio. It was a really pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely.
And again, congratulations on your dance performance, your dance school. And I learned so much from you today.
I'm glad.
Excellent. Thank you.